Stress, if you think about it, is kind of an internal friction on something, on an object. If an object is has a tension on it. Hans Selye, who was an endocrinologist, came up with the term. Prior to this, stress was a term that was used on physical objects. It was a term in physics. It was not a term in psychology. But I want to just make a quick distinction here between stress and being inspired. And later on you'll see that stress is really just a perception. Because if I got dropped off at the foot of Mount Everest and was told I had to climb it, I'd be stressed. I have a friend who's a rock climber and he'd say, yeah. So the same event, the same physical requirements, one's stressed and one's not. So again, stress is a perception. Oh, so the definition I've come up with it is that you don't like what is. And I think it works pretty well. I don't know how else to say it, but it's when you don't like what is. So if I don't like Mount Everest, he loves Mount Everest. So yeah, he was an endocrinologist, and he called it the general adaptation syndrome. This term became so common in our language now that we don't even think about it. Everyone says, I'm stressed. That stresses me out. You know, we use this a lot. And and everyone, you know, also thinks that, you know, I think I got this condition over here because of stress and all that. So I just want to talk about how that's probably true, that it's contributory, but it's not necessarily the cause. So, the interface between the mind and the body takes place somewhere at the base of the brain called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus makes hormones. They're actually, it's really, you know, I don't know if it really fits the definition of hormone. Hormones are supposed to be chemicals that are released by one part of the body and they go to a further part of the body. It's more of a paracrine. It's like the cells right next door. So anyway, it sends out these messages to the pituitary, and then the pituitary sends out all these hormones to the rest of the body. So, so this is the hypothalamic pituitary axis. I just call it the hypothalamic endocrine axis. So, in other words, and the reason I say that is your thyroid gland really produces a hormone that gives us energy. Okay, when you're hypothyroid, you're kind of dragging around. You're hard to lose weight. You're losing your hair. You don't think as quickly. And, you know, that you kind of get dulled. But it happens so slowly over time that you don't really notice it. People that haven't seen you in a year or two might say, "Huh, what's up?" And but you know, and hyperthyroid, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody, but they're like this. Their heart's going like that, right? So thyroid gives you energy. So it's controlled by that as well. Menstruation. Two women 30 years old move in together. In 60 days, they're both menstruating at the same time. They didn't plan it. You know, they didn't talk about it. It just happened. Okay, so somehow the mind and their connection as friends somehow signaled the body's endocrine system. Fertility. How many times do we know of a couple who've been trying to get pregnant, 10 years later, they finally adopt, and then a week later she's pregnant? The other strange thing that I don't have an answer for is when it's been proven that, or they've found this out through observation, 100 women trying to get pregnant, 100 women get raped. More of the rape victims get pregnant. And pleasure, of course. Pleasure comes from that. And you know, we might think of sexuality as a physical pleasure, but it's not. It's really taking place up here. You know, it's in your mind, because if you're attracted to doorknobs, for example, would you say, like, that's the best doorknob I've ever, check it out. You know, you know, it's not the doorknob. Okay, and we always think of this of the standard hormones. You know, the ovaries, the thyroid, etc. We don't realize that there's a lot of hormones going on, and there are a lot of endocrine organs. For example, the heart produces a hormone that deals with our ability to excrete urine and stuff. So the heart is even an endocrine organ, produces a hormone.